Hello everyone, a very warm good afternoon to one and all present over here. I am back with a wonderful session of IELTS practice test where I am solving questions for you all so that you get to know how you can ace your particular section if you are facing problem into. Okay, so let's get started without wasting any further time. But before, let me know who all are here and drop down your attendance on the comment section so that I get to know that you guys are here and actually excited for the session. Okay. So now without wasting any further time, let me know that you are here. Please drop down your heart in the comment section so that I get to know that you guys are here. Okay. Now, so today again I'm with the new part of question, which is very good afternoon, Rahul. I am with the new part of listening question where I'm solving the entire listening series for you all. So just have a quick look. But before, I'll also be giving you what are the tips that you need to take care before starting off with your questions. Okay? So now let's get started and let us understand what are the topics we'll be covering today. Definitely, I don't have any new thing to tell you because I have already told the entire introduction of listening to you. Very good afternoon, Sharda. So this is the reason I'll not move ahead and go ahead in the deep diving into the particular section. I'm just going to start off with the practice test so that you guys are able to understand. We got a new banner today. Looks so clean and awesome. Thank you so much, Sayers. Thanks a lot. Means a lot to me. Okay. Thank you so much. Jai Mata Di. Okay, chalo. Now let's get started. So today I'm going to be starting off with the listening, practice, solution, and definitely I'll be giving the answers. Okay, but before I would just like you to know something about this section. So these are some of the pointers that you need to take in consideration. Okay, so I'm just writing it down over here. Pointers to consider. God. Before solving your listening test. Okay? Got it? Yes, there you go. Okay. Now, so what are the pointers that I need to tell you? First of all, the very first thing before the listening audio starts, you need to have a look upon to the questions. Okay. What you're going to do? You're going to read the questions. When you're going to read the questions, when you're going to be having that time. Okay, so before starting off with the audio, you at least get 30 seconds of the time in order to understand the question, in order to be familiar with the question, right? So when that 30 seconds you're going to getting, read the question properly, and at the time of reading the question, what you're going to do? Mark the keywords. Mark the important keywords which you think can be very important to you in order to give a proper response. Mark the important keywords. Got it? Now, ma'am, today I'm fasting and I pray to Mother this please to do it very well. Okay, nice, amazing. That's good, amazing. So today is the last day, I guess. Right? And it's good to be and it's good to fast. It's good for your health, and also it's good religiously, okay, and spiritually as well. Mark the important keywords. Next, what you're going to be doing? Make sure take care of the spellings. Okay. ठीक है, इतना कर लिया. Next, what you're going to do? Also read the instructions. Why? Why you need to read the instructions? For word limit. Okay, you're going to be getting the word limit, for example, no more than 2 words or no more than 3 words, something like this. So you need to come up with the response. And remember, if you're going to write a lot of words, and also if you're not going to revise it, and if you're not going to take care of the spelling, you might end up getting your bands deducted. So be very careful of it at the time of solving. Okay, now read the instructions. What's next you need to do? Check spellings, revise, be aware of the distractors. Stay attentive. What else? These are some of the pointers that you need to take care before solving your questions, so that you don't forget what you are going to do and what you need to do, right? So make sure you keep these pointers into consideration before solving. Okay, shall we start? Okay, now let's get started with the practice. If you want to have a quick look, you can take a screenshot if you want to, and you can note it down if you want to, so that you don't forget it at the end of the day before solving your responses. Okay, chalo. Now let's get started and let's start answering the question. Okay, so I'm going to be playing the audio. Here is the question. I'm going to be playing the audio and I'm going to be showing you how to solve it. Okay, now
Test 2. You will hear a number of different recordings and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Section 1. Section 1. You will hear a man interviewing a woman in the street about her use of transport. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Excuse me?
Yes?
I wonder if you could spare a few minutes to do a survey on transport. It won't take long.
No, that's fine.
Oh, lovely. The survey is on behalf of the local council. They'd like to know about what transport you use and any suggestions for improvement. Can I start by asking you how you travelled to town today?
Sure, I came on the bus.
The woman travelled to town by bus, so bus has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Excuse me?
Yes?
I wonder if you could spare a few minutes to do a survey on transport. It won't take long.
No, that's fine.
Oh, lovely. The survey is on behalf of the local council. They'd like to know about what transport you use and any suggestions for improvement. Can I start by asking you how you travelled to town today?
Sure, I came on the bus.
Great. Now, can I get a few details about yourself?
Okay.
What's your name?
It's Louisa
Yes.
Hardy.
Can you spell that, please?
Yes, it's H-A-R-D-I-E.
Great, thanks. And can I have your address?
It's 19 Whitestone Road.
Oh, right, I know that area. It's Bradfield, isn't it?
That's right.
Is the postcode GT7?
It's actually GT8 2LC.
Great. And could I ask what your job is? Are you a student?
I've actually just finished my training. I'm a hairdresser.
Oh, right. And one more question in this section. What is the reason for you coming into town today?
Actually, it's not for shopping today, which would be my normal reason, but to see the dentist.
Right. Thanks.
Before you hear the rest of the interview, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
Now, in this last section, I'd like you to give us some ideas about the facilities and arrangements in the city for getting to and from work. Any suggestions you have for improvements?
Well, something I've thought about for some time is that when I do walk and I'm doing a later shift, I think the lighting should be better.
Yes, good point.
And of course, I think it's a real shame they've been cutting down on the number of footpaths. They should have more of those. Then people would walk more.
Yes, right.
And I don't think there are enough trains. That's why I don't use them. You have to wait so long.
Thanks. And finally, I'd like to ask your opinion on cycling. As you may know, there's a drive in the city to get more people to cycle to work.
Right.
But we realise that there are things which the council, but also employers, might do to help encourage workers to cycle to work.
Yeah. Well, I have thought about it, and where I work, there are no safe places to leave your bikes.
Okay.
And also, I'd have to cycle uphill, and on a hot day, I'd arrive at work pretty sweaty, so I think I'd need a shower somewhere at work.
Right.
And I suppose the last thing is that I wouldn't be all that confident about cycling on such busy roads. I think I'd like to see you offering training for that. You know, I'd feel a lot better about starting if that was the case.
Well, that's very helpful. Thank you very much for your time.
No problem. Bye.
Okay. Yes, so far you have seen how I have solved it. You need to be very concentrated. You are not supposed to leave even a slightest or single of word, so that, you know, if you're going to do that, then definitely you're going to lose at least 3 to 4 questions in a row. Okay. One question you might notice that the questions are very much related to. Okay, related to each other, or you can say interdependent to each other, right? So over here, what I was doing is I was marking, so this asterisk I was making just to make sure that to you mark the important keywords when you are getting that 30 seconds, right? So what you did is you marked. Okay, now one more thing you have noticed, that words which are near to the blanks are one of the most helpful words that you're going to help you in order to allocate the question, or or locate the question, right? For example, encourage cycling. Now the words which are written as a heading, okay, the sentences which are written in bold, or you can say a much more highlighted way, these things are going to be said by the speaker. So yes, be very conscious, be very clear when you are solving the questions, right? And also make sure you don't make spelling mistake. Initially, question number 1, 1 to 10 are one of the easiest. They are going to give you spellings, they are going to give you the exact numbers, they are going to give you the exact data as it is, right? So make sure whenever you are copying the data as it is, like once you've heard the audio and you are coming up with the response, it's really very important for you to have a cross check of the spelling. Make sure when the audio is going on, when the speaker is saying that particular word, you write it then and there, because after that it's going to be next to impossible for you to remember that thing and write it again, right? So make sure you do it so that you come up with a clear response. Okay. And when we copy in the exam, is there some spelling mistakes, then does it mean that we get deducted marks even for a small mistakes? Yet, yes, your marks will be deducted even for a slightest mistake. Even for a small spelling mistakes, or you might have left a word, or you might have word limit is like 2 words and you're writing three words. So it's something, these things are going out of the context, these things are going out of instructions, right? So if the instructions is clearly given to you that this is what you need to do and you're not doing accordingly, definitely your marks will be deducted for the same, right? So now let's move ahead and let's solve the next question. Okay.
Section 2. You will hear a representative of a city council giving information about 2 new facilities which are opening soon in the city. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Wait. Now, here you can see that I have seen like this is a multiple choice question. Okay, this is an MCQ type question. So what you did is choose the correct letter A, B or C. You need to choose any one letter from the entire given options, right? Now, what you're going to do is, first of all, this is the topic. This is the main heading of the audio. So this has to be there. This is going to be there no matter what, right? Now, the idea for 2 new developments in the city center came from. Now, focus. First of all, you need to listen to the audio depending upon what they are exactly asking you to answer, right? Now, you might notice that you are going to get this, this, and this. 3 of them together. You are going to get all the options which are familiar to you, right? But you need to know which answer is not going to be the accurate. For example, you need to come up with a POE strategy over here where you are going to know that which option shouldn't be there. If you're going to get an answer directly, fair enough, बहुत अच्छी बात है. But if you're not getting the answers or the responses directly, then make sure you apply this strategy in order to come up with the response. ठीक है. अब जैसे यहाँ पे दिया है, next one is, what is unusual about back and side pool? Okay, so the speaker is going to talk about everything about the back and side pool, and there is going to be high chances of paraphrasing. So make sure you take care of. Okay, so the moment, so what you're going to do, पहले तो हमें ये देखना है कि हमें बात किसकी हो रही है, which is the exact main topic that the speaker is trying to talk about. Okay, so once you locate the topic, what you're going to do, then you're going to keep an eye on all the options that are available. You need to look upon to this option and this option, so that you can come up with the conclusion that okay, this is what it is, not the answer, this is what it is exactly talking about. Okay, and they are going to talk about the exact thing. Okay, what they actually mean by this. Okay, so what is unusual about back and side pool? There is something that is unusual about this pool. What is that? So they are going to talk to you about the positive aspect as well as the negative aspect of the pool. This is how you need to come up with the predicted responses. You need to predict your response, not exactly the response but the type of response, because it's really very important and it's going to help you in order to locate the response. Okay, chalo, now let's get started.
Good morning. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to say a little about 2 exciting new developments in the city: the Brackenside open-air swimming pool and the Children's Adventure Playground in Central Park. As many of you may know, the idea for these initiatives came from you, the public, in the extensive consultation exercise which the City Council conducted last year. And they have been realised using money from the SWRDC, the Southwest Regional Development Commission.
Okay, so you might have listened that they have talked about this, they have talked about this, but what they want to know, okay? So the funds and everything was being collected by this, okay? The idea was not from these two bodies, that idea is from the local people. He said the idea of the two new developments in the city came from you, public. Okay, when I say public, it's not mandatory that यहाँ पे exactly public लिखा होगा. It means you means the local people, right? So this is how you need to come up with the response. अगर आप ये देख रहे हो कि exactly this is what the word they are going to use, no, then just get out of this dream. ठीक है, वो एग्जैक्ट वर्ड नहीं यूज करेंगे. IELTS is meant to be paraphrased. The entire structuring is based on paraphrasing, so you cannot expect the word directly. There might be some questions जहाँ पे आपको directly answers मिल जाएंगे. That's a really good thing. That's your luck definitely. But अगर नहीं तो then it means they are going to be paraphrased. But अगर if you're gonna lost in some of this question, then definitely you're not be able to solve these questions. So for example, अगर नहीं आया या छूट गया, that's okay. Focus on the next question. Don't get stuck to one. ठीक है? Now,
First of all, Brackenside Pool. As many of the older members of the audience will remember, there used to be a wonderful open-air pool on the seafront 30 years ago, but it had to close when it was judged to be unsafe. For the design of this new heated pool, we were very happy to secure the talents of internationally renowned architect Ellen Wendon, who has managed to combine a charming 1930s design, which fits in so well with many of the other buildings in the area, with up-to-the-minute features such as a recycling system, the only one of its kind in the world, which enables...
right? What did he say? He talked about the heating system and the architectural style as well. So what he told you about is that it was unusual. It means it is unusual in terms of a positive aspect. Why? Because of its recycling system. Recycling of what? Recycling of water. So water treatment, it's the method of water treatment. This is going to be the answer. I know it's not going to hit at one go, but you need to be very precise in listening. You need to check on each and every detail. Once you get the answer, you need to cross check it with the question. Is this what the question is exactly asking you or not? Right? So make sure you take these things into consideration. Chalo.
or seawater to be used in the pool. Now, there's been quite a bit of discussion in the local press about whether there would be enough room for the number of visitors we're hoping to attract, but the design is deceptive, and there have been rigorous checks about capacity. Also, just in case you were wondering, we're on schedule for June the 15th opening date, and well within budget, a testimony to the excellent work of local contractors Hickman's. We hope that as many people as possible will be there on June the 15th. We have engaged award-winning actress 𝐒𝐂𝐈�la𝐻 White to declare the pool open, and there'll be drinks and snacks available at the poolside. There'll also be a competition for the public to decide on the sculpture we plan to have at the entrance. You will decide which famous historical figure from the city we should have.
What decision has not yet been made about the pool? What was the decision that has not yet been made? So, whose statue will be at the door? This is the exact decision that has not yet been made. Why? Because the exact opening time is mentioned. Who will open it? The famous celebrity is going to open it. So, these two options are going to get removed from this question, and this is where you are exactly landing. So, this is how you are going to solve the MCQ. Got it? I hope this helped. Okay, now let's get ahead and solve the rest of the questions.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
And now, moving on to the Central Park Playground, which we're pleased to announce has just won the Douglas Award for Safety. The news came through only last week. The unique design is based on the concept of the global village, with the playground being divided into 6 areas showing different parts of the world, each with a representative feature. For example, there is a section on Asia, and this is represented by rides and equipment in the shape of snakes, orangutans, tigers, and so on, fauna native to the forests of the region. Moving south to the Antarctic, we couldn't run to an ice rink, I'm afraid, but opted instead for climbing blocks in the shape of mountains. I thought they could have had slides for the glaciers, but the designers did want to avoid being too literal. Then on to South America, and here the theme is El Dorado, games replicating the search for mines full of precious stones. And then, moving up to North America, here there was considerable debate. I know the contribution of cinema and jazz was considered, but the designers finally opted for rockets and the International Space Station. Eastwards to Europe then, and perhaps the most traditional choice of all the areas, medieval castles and other fortifications. Then last but not least, moving south to Africa, and a whole set of wonderful mosaics and trails to represent the great rivers of this fascinating and varied continent. Now, the opening date for our global playground is the 10th of July. And again, we'd love to see you there. So, make a date and come and see this magnificent, original new amenity right in the heart of the city.
Got it? In this question type, make sure you do not end up writing this what's there. Do not write features over here because it's correct. It's exactly written what you need to write. So if let's suppose you have written these things over there in the blank, so still your answers will be marked wrong. Okay, your answers will be marked wrong. Don't do that. Try and never do that. Okay, if it's written clearly that you need to write A to I over here in the blanks, then make sure you write the alphabets that have been mentioned. Follow the instructions carefully. You know, even if you write the correct answers in your entire answer, still it's going to be marked as wrong because you haven't followed the instructions, right? Take care.
Section 3. You will hear 2 anthropology students called Victor and Olivia discussing their joint presentation about a Norwegian explorer called Thor Heyerdahl. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Right, well, for our presentation, shall I start with the early life of Thor Heyerdahl?
Sure. Why don't you begin with describing the type of boy he was, especially his passion for collecting things?
That's right. He had his own little museum. And I think it's unusual for children to develop their own values and not join in their parents' hobbies. I'm thinking of how Heyerdahl wouldn't go hunting with his dad, for example.
Yeah, he preferred to learn about nature by listening to his mother read to him. And quite early on, he knew he wanted to become an explorer when he grew up. That came from his camping trips he went on in Norway, I think.
No, it was climbing that he spent his time on as a young man.
Oh, right. After university, he married a classmate, and together they decided to experience living on a small island to find out how harsh weather conditions shaped people's lifestyles.
As part of their preparation, before they left home, they learnt basic survival skills, like building a shelter. I guess they needed that knowledge in order to live wild in a remote location with few inhabitants, cut off by the sea, which is what they were aiming to do.
An important part of your talk should be the radical theory Heyerdahl formed from examining mysterious ancient carvings that he happened to find on the island. I think you should finish with that.
Okay.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
All right, Victor, so after your part, I'll talk about Thor Heyerdahl's adult life, continuing from the theory he had about Polynesian migration. Up until that time, of course, academics had believed that humans first migrated to the islands in Polynesia from Asia in the west.
Yes, they thought that travel from the east was impossible because of the huge empty stretch of ocean that lies between the islands and the nearest inhabited land.
Yes, but Heyerdahl spent ages studying the cloud movements, ocean currents, and wind patterns to find if it was actually possible. And another argument was that there was no tradition of large shipbuilding in the communities lying to the east of Polynesia. But Heyerdahl knew they made lots of coastal voyages in locally built canoes.
Yes, or sailing on rafts, as was shown by the long voyage that Heyerdahl did next. It was an incredibly risky journey to undertake. Sometimes I wonder if he did that trip for private reasons, to show others that he could have spectacular adventures. What do you think, Olivia?
Well, I think it was more a matter of simply trying out his idea, to see if migration from the east was possible.
Yes, that's probably it. And the poor guy suffered a bit at that time because the war forced him to stop his work for some years.
Yes. When he got started again and planned his epic voyage, do you think it was important to him that he achieve it before anyone else did?
I haven't read anywhere that that was his motivation. The most important factor seems to have been that he used only ancient techniques and local materials to build his raft.
Yes. I wonder how fast it went.
Well, it took them 97 days from South America to the Pacific Islands.
And after that, Heyerdahl went to Easter Island, didn't he? We should mention the purpose of that trip. I think he sailed there in a boat made out of reeds.
No, that was later on in Egypt, Olivia.
Oh, yes, that's right.
But what he wanted to do was talk to the local people about their old stone carvings, and then make one himself to learn more about the process.
I see. Well, what a great life. Even though many of his theories have been disproven, he certainly left a lasting impression on many disciplines, didn't he? To my mind, he was the first person to establish what modern academics call practical archaeology. I mean, that they try to recreate something from the past today, like he did with his raft trip. It's unfortunate that his ideas about where Polynesians originated from have been completely discredited.
Yes. Right, well, I'll prepare a PowerPoint slide at the end that acknowledges our sources. I mainly used The Life and Work of Thor Heyerdahl by William Oliver. I thought the research methods he used were very sound, although I must say I found the overall tone somewhat old-fashioned. I think they need to do a new, revised edition.
Yeah, I agree. What about the subject matter? I found it really challenging.
Well, it's a complex issue.
I thought the book had lots of good points. What did you think of the illustration?
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Section 4. You will hear a business student predicting how management might change in the next few years. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Well, I've been talking to managers in a number of businesses and reading surveys about the future of management. And what I'm going to present in this seminar is a few ideas about how the activity is likely to change in the next 10 years. It isn't a scientific statistical analysis, just some ideas for us to discuss. One area I want to mention is business markets, and I'm sure a really significant development will be a major increase in competition, with companies from all around the world trying to sell similar products. Consumers will have much more choice. For instance, food products sold in Australia might be manufactured in the USA, China, Finland, and dozens of other countries. At the same time, mergers and takeovers mean that governments are actually losing power to major global corporations. We can probably all think of companies that exert a great deal of influence, which may be good for consumers. A third point I want to make about markets is that in the rapidly expanding economies, such as India, China, Brazil, and Russia, demand is growing very fast. This is putting pressure on resources all over the world. I think businesses are becoming more open to external influences. In particular, companies are consulting customers more and more before making their business decisions. Companies are finding out what they want and providing it, instead of making products and then trying to sell them, which is the model of years ago. Another influence is that concerns about the environment will force manufacturers to extend product life cycles to reduce the amount of pollution and waste. And, in some cases, regulation will need to be strengthened. Many societies are much more fluid and democratic, and the structure of companies is changing to reflect that. I think we're going to see a greater emphasis within companies on teams created with a specific project in mind. And when they're completed, the teams will be disbanded and new ones formed. More and more people see work as simply one part of their lifestyle, and not the most important one. And as the workforce is shrinking in some countries, businesses are having to compete for staff instead of being able to choose among a lot of applicants. Typical examples that will attract and retain staff are traditional ones like flexible hours and, something that has been made possible by advances in technology, remote working, with people based at their home, abroad, or almost anywhere they choose. Management styles will almost certainly continue to change. Senior managers will require a lot more than the efficiency that they've always needed. Above all, they'll need great skills in leadership so that their organization can initiate and respond to change in a fast-moving world where they face lots of competing requirements and potential conflicts. In most of the world, the senior managers of large businesses are mainly men in their 50s and 60s. The predominant style of management will almost certainly become more consultative and collaborative, caused, above all, by more women moving into senior management positions. Many of the changes are influenced by developments in the wider economy. The traditional emphasis of business was manufacturing, and of course, the service sector is very important. But we shouldn't overlook the growing financial contribution of IP, that is, intellectual property. Some books and films generate enormous sums from the sale of related DVDs, music, games, clothes, and so on. Another point I'd like to make is that although I've been talking about companies, one trend that they have to face is the move away from people working for the same employer for years. Instead, more and more people are becoming self-employed to gain the freedom and control over their lives that they're unlikely to get from being employed. Okay, well, that's all I want to say. So let's open it up for discussion.
Yes. So this was the entire listening module for you all. Okay. You might be noticing that I keep on underlining things at the time of listening. Okay, so no doubt you have prepared your responses, you are prepared with the predictions, you are prepared with the keywords, you are prepared with everything. But paraphrasing is something that you're gonna get to know once the audio starts, right? So being attentive, it's really very important to mark it nicely. Okay. So in this type of question format, what happens? Questions are usually in order. Okay. Questions are usually in order. Okay. And same, like questions are in order definitely, and the responses are also in order. Okay. So responses are also going to be in order in this question type. Okay. Now, what you need to do, you need to come up with the exact word from the audio. What you need to come up with? Exact word from the audio. Okay. From the audio. This is what you need to do. So the moment you're going to find the word, make sure you write it exactly where the blank is. Acha, over here I have written self-employed and yahan pe it's written one word only. So jo hyphenated words hote hain, when you are going to write the hyphenated words like this, they are going to be counted as one. Mark it, okay? So whenever you're going to write the hyphenated words, these words are going to be counted as one and not two, right? So yes, this is how we have solved, and this is from Cambridge 10 test 2 of listening, okay? So make sure you take this into consideration, follow all the pointers that I've already told you, plan it, predict it, and then come up with the response, and make sure you revise it wisely, right? Okay. Here are the answers if you want to have a quick look, right? Yep, that's all. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for being here. It was a wonderful session. Thank you so much. We're going to meet you in the next session. Bye-bye. Take care.